Okay, hello. In this video we want to look at the basic rules for working with indices or powers. Now I've written out the three basic rules that we're using, and I'll give some examples for each of these. The first one, some number or pronumeral letter of the alphabet to a power. When we multiply them, we're going to add the powers. So let's do an example of this. If I have an x to the power of 5 and I multiply that by another x to the power of 6, I multiply my numbers first, so I end up with 20 in the front, and I've got x to the power of 5 times x to the power of 6, so I add those powers and I end up with x to the power of 11. Okay, because I have x times 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 x. Okay, and so we end up with x to the power of 11. In the second example, if I have x to the power of 6 divided by x to the power of 4, we can subtract those powers, and so we end up with x to the power of 2. If you remember, if we were cancelling, we've got x times x times x. We've got 3 x's on the top, and we've got 4 x's on the bottom, and so I can cancel 4 of those x's, and I'm left with x to the power of 2 on the top. So that's how that works. And so don't forget if we've got x to the power of 3 on the top, and I have x to the power of 4 on the bottom of the fraction, the denominator, here I've got 3 minus 1, so that's x to the power of negative 1. 3 take away 4, and x to the power of negative 1, we'll see in the next video, is the same as 1 over x in the denominator. Right, when we have a power of a power, we multiply the indices. So, an example there, if I have 2x to the power of 2. Now don't forget that this to the power of 2 has to be also the 2 in the bracket. So 2 to the power of 2 is 4. X to the power of 5 to the power of 2, we multiply those two, so we have x to the power of 10. Let's do another example of that. If I have 3x to the power of 4, and then put that all to the power of 2. Okay, that power of 2's got to also 3 times 3, so that's going to be 9 in the front. X to the power of 4 to the power of 2 is going to be x to the power of 8. And let's practice a few more examples. Here, let's do 2 to the power of x squared to the power of 3. 2x squared to the power of 3. Don't forget, this power of 3 is everything in the bracket. So we have 2 to the power of 3 times x to the power of 6 equals 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, x to the power of 6. If I have a negative 3 this time, x 5 power of 3. Okay, a negative 3 times a negative 3 times a negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9, times negative 3 is negative 27 in the front, x to the power of 15. What about a negative 5, x to the power 3, all squared? Okay, negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. Remember those rules when you are multiplying a negative times a negative is a positive times a positive is a negative times a positive is a negative, and a positive times a positive is a positive. So here I've got 25 and x to the power of 3 to the power of 2, multiply the powers of powers, and we get 6. Let's see, 2x y to the power of 3, z to the power of 2, all to the power of 4. Every term is to the power of 4 because it's in the bracket. So 2 to